Hey guys, what's up? It's Audra and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I wanted to talk to you about something, and basically I just titled the video after it so you would know exactly where I'm going. So what I want to talk about is, did we, Concrete Castles, finally figure out how to tour? Now this is a loaded question because touring is very different for a lot of people. But you guys always seem to be interested in asking me questions about touring, so I figured that I'd do a video about it, just so you can kind of understand what we think about when we are on tour. So what I'm going to do is take you through the last 3 tours we've done, tell you what we did on them, and why we think this time we did it the best. So let's start with Against the Current. Against the Current tour. First tour, obviously you know that one's going to be a little crazy, right? The crazy part that you guys maybe don't know about, maybe do, I can't remember how much we've talked about it, is that that whole tour was supposed to be fly dates. But we did not fly because we did not want to lose that much money. So we drove the whole tour, which was supposed to be fly dates. So if you guys don't know what that is, fly dates are shows that you literally fly to because the drives are so long it doesn't make sense to do it. But we did do it. So instead of having a day off, we had a day of driving. So instead of having a day to relax, whatever, we would drive 17, 18 hours in a day to get to the next show. But at that point, we didn't understand that we didn't have to do all of it in one day. So we'd do the whole entire thing instead of, you know, driving a few hours after the show, sleeping somewhere else, then driving again, sleeping, driving 2 hours in the morning, whatever. We just didn't do that. One of the main reasons was we weren't 21. So we couldn't get hotel rooms. We had to get Airbnbs, which takes a little bit more of advanced planning ahead than doing hotels where we literally could book them like that day. So that was a huge thing that kind of set us back on the Against the Current tour, were the fly dates and the age of ourselves. So that made it really difficult. So on that tour, we didn't really get to do anything like fun. Like we didn't get to do any sightseeing or like go hang out with anybody because we were literally like rushing to get there every single day. So it was a great tour and it was very fun to play the shows, but as us being good at touring, probably pretty low on the list. Then we went on the Point North tour, and that one was obviously a little bit easier. We, before the tour, had written a few songs with John, spent some time with him, so we at least knew him, which was nice. And it also helped that Sam was playing drums with Point North, which meant we got to get to the load-ins at the venues very early. But the downside was we had to stay late because Sam couldn't pack up, obviously, while the other bands were playing, so we had to stay till the very end until Sam was done playing, then sell our merch, then pack up and then go. Now you would think that we would have gotten better during the Point North tour, and we did. We did to an extent. We figured out our drives better, that's all Matt, and we did not figure out the fun part still. So when we would get to these venues early, we would load in our stuff and we'd be ready and we'd just sit there instead of, you know, going out and exploring, going to get food, whatever. We would just sit there and wait for our time to sound check, even though we knew when it was going to be every day, and we could have walked out and we could have just come back in time. I don't know why we did that. I think it's just because we were still getting over those tour, like, jitters of, we need to be there, we need to be on our time, like, what if something happens? I don't know. All this stuff that led up to that. Basically, we didn't really do anything on the Point North tour either. Now, we did not do anything. There were still times when we, like, you know, went out and hung out with the guys in the other bands, and went out on our own. We definitely did more stuff on the Point North tour, whether it was just going out to eat, going in, walking around with the other bands when we got into the cities, or like we went to like this arcade like bar thing one night on that tour too. Obviously I couldn't stay very long because I was not 21 yet, which also didn't help. Just because everybody's older, so even if you're not into like drinking and whatever, you can't even get into the places if you're not 21. So that was a huge thing that kind of like, you know, affected how much we could actually do with everybody else. So I will say, we got better at driving, we got better at planning, we could book hotels, which was awesome, and we definitely did more than we did on the Against the Current tour. Now fast forward to, that tour ended April, May, June, July, August. 4 months later, I'm 21 now, so obviously we'll be able to go do more things anyways, we've realized. We start the Set It Off tour. We start in Canada, which was scary. We'd never been to Canada. And the first day of the show, I mean, we're in French Canada, we're in Montreal, and we get done with the show and we're like, you know what, we're hungry. And instead of sitting there and waiting around until the end, till maybe nothing is open. We just left and we went and got food and we were like, wait a second, this isn't that bad. Because it wasn't like you were missing everything. Like, Set It Off played for an hour and a half, which was number one, very helpful. Point North only played for 45 minutes, and Against the Current played for an hour. So with Set It Off playing for an hour and a half, it gave us a little bit of more times to go do things, come back, watch them, have some time, sell our merch, and then go. So once we were done playing our set, we have everything packed up, sometimes even loaded out into the van. So we were completely done with that end. All the other bands would play, we would, stay some nights, go walk around some nights. And the best part was, our load-in was later for this tour. It was between 1:30 and 2. So we didn't have to get to the venues until then, and usually you have to check out of hotels at 11. Now, sometimes we had, hour, 2 hour long drives in the morning, which was fine. We'd wake up early and do it. But instead of, sleeping in and having a horrible driving schedule, Matt would drive at night. I would sleep all night. I would wake up early, drive us into the city. We'd go get lunch. We'd walk around. We'd explore. We'd load in, go back, walk around some more, go in, play our show, watch a few bands, go out, come back, watch Set It Off set. We just did a lot more fun things on this tour. We weren't afraid to go out. We knew when we were supposed to be there. We weren't afraid we were ever going to miss our sound check. We weren't afraid that we weren't going to be able to see anything or be back in time, because we just knew how to manage our time more, and we wanted to go out and see these things, because when you're on tour, you get very narrow-minded about, like, I'm here for one thing, I'm here for my job, I'm here for this, whatever. But there's so much more that you can do while you're on tour. So I just think it's very cool to kind of hear and see the progression of, like, a band that just started touring to only being into their third tour and doing so much more already. And just know that, like, that transition is, like, pretty quick. Like, you learn very fast the do's and don'ts of, like, what to do on tour. And I know I did, like, somewhat a video about that, like, a while ago, about after our last tour. But I just wanted to give kind of, like, basically, like, an update on, like, I think we might have figured out how to do this. Obviously, there's things that we're going to get better at, and things are going to change. We've been doing the same type of tour. We've been doing a van tour that's been easy with, like, similar size venues, but obviously there's going to be a point in time, hopefully, where that changes, and we're doing bigger things, and we're maybe in a different vehicle, and, then you have to kind of start the learning process over again. But for now, I feel like we have the hang of van touring finally. So if you're ever, wondering what it's like, that's what it's like. There's a lot of things that go into it. There's a lot of logistics, but it's very fun. And I think sometimes when you're on tour, you forget that you are allowed to have fun and you can go do things instead of just sitting inside of a dark venue all day. So I'm really glad that we, had this opportunity and experience on this tour to kind of step outside, like, our comfort zones and figure out what it was like to really have fun on tour and, like, get to explore all these places that you're going, because you're gonna get to go back there, but you find something new every time. You're in a different part of a city every time you go back. So that's pretty much it. That's why I called this video, Did We Figure Out Touring? Because I just wanted to give you guys a little insight on what it's like to be a touring band. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you don't miss an upload every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye! See you next week!